Congressman, good to see you. I got to tell you what, I can't believe the arrogance of this administration when the Inspector General says, per your question, hey, is the DOD and state complying with your investigation? He's like, no, they're not. So what can your committee do to compel compliance from the Biden administration?
Well, we're trying to make it known to the American people that this is the least transparent administration in the history of our country. This administration continues to waste taxpayer dollars to the tunes of hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't think very many Americans realize we've spent $8 billion in Afghanistan this year. And what we learned from the hearing today is the special Inspector General for Afghan reconstruction, he cannot guarantee that 100% of that did not go to the Taliban. He doesn't know where a penny of that went. They see no signs of any of the money going to people in need. They fear it's all going to the Taliban, and the fact that this administration, whether it be the Department of Defense, the Department of State, or the White House, continues to block the inspector generals from having access to where the taxpayer dollars are being spent says a lot. It says it probably is going to the Taliban. So, you know, how many mistakes can one administration make on the foreign policy front? I think we're about to find out with Joe Biden.
Right. The attitude seems to be, what's the big deal? It was great. Right. It was Trump's fault. But Congressman, it goes to the catastrophic failure of leadership, but also the risk to our security, the lives that are still being lost. Not long ago, former Congressman Seth Moulton pointed out one interpreter had an evacuation flight postponed out of Afghanistan for the World Cup. And then he was murdered by the Taliban before he could get out of Afghanistan. And he had in his hand his special immigrant visa.
Right. I mean, the whole purpose of oversight is to make sure our tax dollars are being spent. It's also to make sure that people who make mistakes are held accountable. And what we learned today is that we don't have any handle on the tax dollars currently being spent. We never had a good handle on where the tax dollars were being spent, especially under the Biden administration. And no one's held accountable for the debacle of a withdrawal. 13 U.S. service members lost their lives. Our reputation on the foreign stage has suffered irreparable damage. I think that had it not been for the debacle in Afghanistan, Putin never would have invaded Ukraine. And look at what that's costing us. I don't think if the debacle in Afghanistan hadn't happened, that President Xi wouldn't be threatening to invade Taiwan. These are all results of Joe Biden's incompetence on the world stage, and it all began in Afghanistan.
But they're so out of touch. I mean, so you mentioned 13 service members died, tens of billions of dollars of U.S. equipment went to the Taliban. Joe Biden gave up Bagram Air Base. And when Joe Biden writes his, debrief on why MAGA Republicans are so bad, he mentions actually you, Congressman. He says that you voted against $7 billion in funding to assist in the resettlement of Afghan refugees. I don't care about Afghan refugees. I care about American citizens. I care about American armaments that were left behind. I care about Bagram. I care about the 13 soldiers that lost their life. These guys are insane.
They are. I mean, it's unbelievable that they try to blame the debacle on Donald Trump. Biden was the commander-in-chief. No one is getting answers. We don't know who made which decisions. We depend, as you know, Sean, on the IGs. There are around 59, 60 IGs in the federal government. They're not partisan. They're the accountants. They're the ones that are supposed to be on the front lines of rooting out waste, fraud, abuse, and mismanagement in the federal government. I depend on the IGs to do oversight work. We had 4 IGs today that all testified they were having trouble getting information from the Biden administration, and Sopko, who is the IG for Afghan reconstruction, said he's not getting any information. In fact, he's finding evidence that the Biden people are telling other cabinets not to cooperate with him. I mean, this administration is the most arrogant and least transparent administration in our history. They cause damage to us in ways that we learn every day because of the incompetence, because of the bad decisions they're making, and because of the possibility that many of us think they may be compromised because of the family influence peddling schemes.
And just a reminder, Those 13 service members were killed by a suicide bomber who was released from a Bagram detention center. The Bagram airfield, the Biden administration was told by the Trump administration, do not give it up. But new tonight, Congressman, an IRS whistleblower has information, this is according to a letter written by his or her attorney, that suggests the Biden administration is mishandling the Hunter Biden probe. In a letter to lawmakers, the whistleblower's lawyer reveals, quote, my client has already made legally protected disclosures internally. The protected disclosures detail examples of preferential treatment and politics inappropriately, improperly, infecting decisions and protocols that would normally be followed by career law enforcement professionals. Give us what you know about this whistleblower, the interference into the probe of Hunter Biden.
I predicted this 2 weeks ago when I first had staff that were granted access to these bank violations of the Biden family. It's obvious to anyone what was going on. This family had set up, dozens of LLCs that were used to disguise or launder, whichever word you want to use, suspicious payments coming from our adversaries around the world. They were then using those LLCs to pay for basic living expenses. The LLCs serve no business purpose that we can identify. And the question that popped up in my head the first day was, how do you pay taxes on this? This is a tax scheme in addition to an influence peddling scheme. The odds that the Biden family was showing this money they were getting from the Chinese Communist Party and from Russia and from Ukraine, the chances that they were paying taxes on this as income is probably slim to none. And I would say anyone with the IRS who's had an opportunity to audit these LLCs knows that this is criminal activity we're talking about here. And remember, it's not just the president's son. We've identified 9 Biden family members that were involved in the family influence peddling scheme. 9 Biden family members. It's obvious what was going on. The fact that the Treasury and the IRS hasn't done anything, that the DOJ hasn't done anything to this family, shows that something fishy is going on. I predicted we would start having whistleblowers come forward once they see that there is an investigative body that's trying to get actual facts out to the public. So I think that this whistleblower is very credible. I think they have a very good story to tell, and I think that this is going to put a lot of pressure on Merrick Garland and Joe Biden to finally come clean with American people on what they were doing.
Congressman, you make a good point. First of all, you guys have done a great job in the short time you've had the majority in the gavels, but your committee is not set up to do these kind of investigations. You're not the FBI, you're not the DOJ. But it does beg the question, where is the FBI? Where is the DOJ? Where is the IRS? Because this thing reeks to high heaven, and these guys, I think, are part of the corruption scandal. The FBI, the DOJ, and the IRS, they don't want to look at Joe Biden because Hunter Biden is going to lead to Joe Biden, and they love him as a president, so that he's committed crimes. They don't seem to care.
Yeah. I think what I found out, and this is my prediction, John, the reason that nothing's been done to Hunter Biden is because it's not just about Hunter Biden.
That's right.
It's about the entire family. It's about the brothers, the sister-in-laws, the sister, the nieces, the nephews, the grandchildren. They were all involved in this. And I think the Department of Justice and the intelligence community scratching their head like, what a mess. Maybe it'll just go away. And I got news for the American people. It's not going away. It's going to come to light. And I think that a lot of people that were supposed to be checks and balances along the way in the IRS and the DOJ are going to have a lot of explaining to do.
Just to be clear, David Weiss out of Delaware, the U.S. attorney there, is overseeing the Hunter Biden investigation. Mm-hmm. However, it is also being run out of the Justice Department's tax division as well, in conjunction. So it's safe to say this letter seems to be related to that investigation, correct, Congressman? Mm-hmm.
That's what it appears. It appears that what they're implying is that everybody's been told to stand down. And we want to know who's telling people to stand down. Because remember, we did a transcribed interview about 6 weeks ago with the general counsel for the National Archives, who admitted in the interview that he was told to stand down on putting on their website information about Joe Biden's mishandling of classified documents, even though it's all over about Donald Trump's mishandling of classified documents. So there are people in the Department of Justice in this White House that are telling government officials in every cabinet to stand down on anything related to the Biden crime family.
Congressman James Comer, listen, thank you for joining us. My last point is cutting cash equals accountability. Cut their cash, my man, and they're going to start answering your questions. So, but you guys have been great work. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.